Today's story is about friendship, power, and a decision so massive that it will shape the future of the Indian Ocean for the next 30 years. Once upon a time, France delivered the Rafale jets to India. But today, the world is witnessing something far bigger. India and France are coming together to build a supercarrier so advanced, so colossal, so futuristic that nothing like it has ever sailed on this planet. A warship that won't just redefine the Indian Ocean, it will reset the power balance of the entire Indo-Pacific. And the day the world sees this Indo-French supercarrier touch the waters, one truth will become impossible to ignore. India is no longer a regional force. India has become the master of the oceans. This entire chapter begins with one aggressive move. China just launched its third aircraft carrier. And make no mistake, this carrier was not built for Chinese defense. It was built for India. Because Beijing knows a bitter truth. Its biggest long-term challenge is not the US, not Japan, but India. China's first two carriers were designed for the South China Sea, but the new one, an 85,000-ton giant, is built specifically to dominate the Indian Ocean. A carrier almost touching US supercarrier displacement. A carrier meant to project Chinese power deep into India's maritime backyard. China wants to be the big boss of the Indian Ocean. It wants to challenge India on its own coastline, and this is where the Indo-French story begins. India had been planning a third carrier for years, something similar in size to INS Vikrant, but the game has completely changed. China brought an 85,000-ton monster. India decided it will not build a mid-size carrier anymore. India will build a 77,000 to 80,000-ton beast, a nuclear-powered supercarrier. A floating fortress carrying 55 to 60 fighter jets, a crew of 5,000 plus, and 247 active air wing assets. A ship designed to stop China before it even enters the Indian Ocean. And the best part? India is not alone. France is standing shoulder to shoulder. This is not just hardware transfer. This is strategic bonding France has already shared. Rafale technology, Scorpion submarines, Airbus defense systems, missile tech, and now, the unthinkable, nuclear propulsion technology. France is offering something no other Western nation offered, a joint supercarrier development program, co-design, co-engineering, shared nuclear reactor tech. Both nations will build one supercarrier each. While Britain said, "We can sell you parts," France said, "We will build the future with you." This is why India sees the French offer as a golden opportunity, one that comes once in a century. India's benefits. Why this supercarrier changes everything. India gets nuclear carrier tech for the first time. One of the world's top 3 largest carriers becomes Indian complete 24/7 blue water dominance from Africa to Australia. India's Navy becomes one of the world's fastest modernizing forces. By 2035, India joins the global top 3 naval powers. India is the only major nation surrounding by expanding maritime threats. Pakistan to the west. China's string of pearls ports, Chinese spy ships near Sri Lanka, political interference in Maldives, Chinese bases planned in Africa. A 45,000-ton carrier is not enough for the age that is coming. A nuclear supercarrier is not an option. It's a necessity. It sends a message loud and clear. The Indian Ocean is India's home. Entry without permission is not allowed. This ship will be historic. It will be India's first nuclear-powered carrier, India's largest warship ever, one of the top 3 biggest carriers on Earth, a future-tech Indo-French blueprint, 77,000 to 80,000 tons displacement, equal to China's Fujian class. Nearly matching US Navy Nimitz and Ford carriers, India already has nuclear submarines. But a nuclear carrier is an entirely different class of military engineering. France is the only non-US nation with such a capability, and India is about to become the next. Here's what the world often forgets. 80% of global oil shipments, 60% of global trade passes through the Indian Ocean. China's real long-term battlefield is not Taiwan, not the Pacific. It is the Indian Ocean region, IOR. That's why China is building bases in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Africa, Maldives, influence ops, and secret ports around the IOR. China wants to encircle India, but India read this game early. India has launched a bold naval modernization strategy, 3 major goals. 1, a 3-carrier force, 1 for the eastern coast, 1 for the western coast, 1 for global or reserve operations. China will have 5 carriers. By 2035, India needs 3 super-capable carriers to counter that. 2, a full carrier strike group. A supercarrier is never alone. It sails with its own floating city, 2 destroyers, 2 frigates, 1 nuclear submarine, 1 tanker, anti-submarine helicopters, 70 to 80 total aircraft. When China's Fujian enters the Indian Ocean, India will deploy its supreme supercarrier with a full battle group behind it. That is power, that is deterrence, that is the new Indian Navy. China thought it could dominate the Indian Ocean, surround India from all sides, trap India with ports and bases, treat India as a secondary maritime player. But India flipped the script. With France standing beside it, India is stepping into a new era. India is becoming the next great oceanic superpower. And the day the Indo-French nuclear supercarrier enters service, the world will witness a new chapter in naval history, the India-France supercarrier, the biggest ever in human history. And on that day, only one truth will echo across the oceans. In the Indian Ocean, India's will is the world's direction. Where India sets the rules, the world sails accordingly. What do you think about this Indo-French supreme supercarrier? How do you compare it to China's Fujian? Tell me your thoughts. I'm ready to dive deep. This is a part most people don't understand. Many Americans don't realize that today the US needs strong partners in the Indo-Pacific, not followers, and India is the only power with the population, the economy, the military, the geography, the political stability, the strategic motivation to actually counter China long-term. A powerful India is good for US interests because if China dominates the Indian Ocean, America's influence collapses. If China controls energy routes, America's allies collapse. If China traps India, the Indo-Pacific becomes a Chinese lake. So the US quietly but powerfully supports India's rise as a naval force, India's Indo-Pacific role, India-France Defense Cooperation, India's 3-carrier doctrine, a strong Indian Navy, a balanced Indo-Pacific. A balanced Indo-Pacific equals America's strategy succeeds. This supercarrier aligns perfectly with American geopolitical goals. India is building naval power at a pace rarely seen in world history. India is building nuclear submarines, multiple SSNs and SSBNs under development. India is building destroyers faster than Europe. The Visakhapatnam class is world-class. India is building the world's largest indigenous naval shipyards, able to produce carriers, destroyers, and subs simultaneously. India is modernizing maritime surveillance P-8I aircraft, same as US Navy, Predator drones, GSAT defense satellites, coastal radar networks. India is expanding bases across the Indian Ocean, Andaman and Nicobar Lakshadweep, Mauritius, Seychelles, Madagascar, Oman, DQM. By 2035, India will operate 3 aircraft carriers, 2 to 3 nuclear supercarriers, 8 to 10 nuclear submarines, 20+ advanced destroyers, dozens of frigates, corvettes, and patrols, a carrier strike group that rivals any Western Navy except the US. This is no longer a prediction, it's a roadmap already in motion. The Indo-French Supreme Supercarrier is not just a ship, it is a message, a warning, a promise, a new chapter in global power, a turning point for the Indo-Pacific. And the day it officially enters service, the world will witness something extraordinary. India and France launching the most powerful warship ever built outside the United States. It will mark the beginning